Okay, honorary Oscars. Dean, there's honorary Oscars, then there's the Thalberg Award that normally goes to a producer of great merit, and then there's the Gene Herschel Humanitarian Award, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, they don't have to give out, they don't give the Gene Herschel every year. They just give it if they feel like they have a recipient that's deserving.
And the same thing with the Thalberg, too.
Gotcha. Okay, Thalberg. I suffered from that years ago, and I went to an endocrinologist, and he fixed me right up.
Oh, that's good.
I had an inflamed Thalberg.
I still have that. I still have the inflamed Thalberg.
Yeah.
It's all, for me, it's only when I roll over a certain way. I feel my Thalberg, you know.
oh, my Thalberg. Okay, members of the Board of Governors put forth names, with each of the top choices then voted on individually. The honorees must receive support from at least half of the members on the board. The usual limit is 3 honorees. For a fourth person to be considered, he or she needs to garner 2/3 of the vote.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. There's a little preamble.
A little bit that's a little bit of trivia there for you.
I had no idea.
We came up with our own lists of people that are deserving. Generally, these winners are not previous Oscar winners.
Generally,
I wrote like an index card full of names, so I might have actually struck out and actually done something right here for once. Okay.
I wrote down 30 names, actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
I have 25 names, so there you go. 26, actually.
Okay, who wants to go first with their first suggestion?
I'd like to go.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Thank you. No, actually, we had this gentleman on a couple of years ago, and he's a well-known producer, and I would have to say Mike Medavoy. And the reason I picked him, I read his book before we had him on. I had the book for a long time, mind you. But it was the reason we had him on was for this. I forget. Please, you have to forgive me, Jamie. I don't remember the other gentleman who was on with him.
No,
Okay, but it was for something very. It was for trying to educate. It was like a two-way thing. It was educating the world about American cinema, but also about foreign cinema as well, bringing it into this country, and like how, especially in relation to the Middle East, and how we're viewed in the Middle East. And everything. It was a fascinating conversation, and I just thought because this now he produced Black Swan recently. He's also famous, even though he says this isn't true. He passed on Pulp Fiction, but regardless of that, I just thought this was an interesting side thing that he was doing outside of movies, just to try to really, how should you say, fix our image, if you would. Image.
But you know what? He actually wrote an autobiography called "You're Never as Good as Your Next One," and so and that includes all these stories of all these myriad of great films that he's been involved with, from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest on. And he is a producer. He is kind of a rarity in that everybody loves him. Like they think
good guy.
This is a producer that is majorly supportive of talent. He puts talent above anything else. Well,
so that would be my choice.
I think Mike Medavoy is a really good choice. For the Thalberg.
That's what I was. That's the thing. Thank you. And while doing that, I was like, "What's the name of that award?" But no, that's who I was thinking. That was like the first name that came to mind for that.
Yeah,
great choice.
Thank you.
It's funny, the Thalberg is a really interesting award because it looks to producers. And producers are really the people that really sort of strangely get lost in the mix of talking about directors and writers and actors. No one, there's not a lot of people talking about, not a lot of film geeks out there that are out there talking about Scott Rudin has a new movie out.
No, but it's important, though. You're right.
But
You're right.
is.
It is very important because we have the traditional thing. They're the ones who raise the money, which is let's not keep beating around the bush. It's very important. We're watching this, speaking of the broken continent, we're watching this with friends of mine for Kickstarter, doing their best to raise money. But, it's also about, though it is about recognizing talent. And we forget that, but it is someone like a Medavoy or a Rudin or, let's not forget, let's go even further back, Gary Kurtz of the first 2 Star Wars movies. He was and he knew how to keep things in line. I mean, he was, these are all, or someone like Sam Spiegel. I mean, these are all very important people in the movie-making process. And we do, unfortunately, I think the producer gets a bad rap, or, caricature, if you will, in some movies about Hollywood. Obviously, the one I'm thinking about is Barton Fink, the Michael Lerner character. We have that image in our heads, I think, sometimes. But no, they're really very important part of the movie making process.
Well, one of my...
And they're actually the people that actually can bring a whole group of people together to make a movie.
That's true.
Not just a director, but actors and cinematographers and everybody. And so it's ridiculous what they do, and it's good that there's a Thalberg Award there to recognize.
Well, one of my Thalberg nominees is another legendary producer, and it's hard to imagine anyone encompassing kind of the feeling of Hollywood more than this guy, and that's Robert Evans.
Great choice.
I mean,
Great
that's
choice.
Like Hollywood history right there, and he's still kicking. So give it to him while he can still enjoy it.
Oh my God, yeah, I think that's a great choice. I can't believe that I didn't think of that. But that's, I mean, when you
and
think
his restaurants, I love his restaurants too. They're great. You ever had the chicken fried steak? It's just incredible.
Yeah, Bob Evans restaurants are awesome. I met Robert Evans one time at the Palm Springs International Film Festival.
Wow, that's awesome.
And he was all decked out in his white suit and his sunglasses. And well, what do you say? What do you say? I said something stupid. I'm sure I said something stupid, like, what did you think of something stupid, and he treated me so nicely. He was a really great guy, and you could just feel he was originally a movie star. He was groomed to be a movie star, and then he later on got into producing movies.
Well, he pretty much single-handedly saved Paramount, and produced some of the greatest films of the past 40 years in the process. I mean, who else would make Chinatown? He didn't even understand Chinatown when he read it, but he had a feeling about Town and Nicholson and Polanski, and he joined all of those talents together, and Chinatown happened. But he was the one that campaigned for Coppola. No one else wanted him. He changed movie history. He's informed what we love about movies, everyone in our age group, as much as anybody.
That's an awesome choice. I mean, that's a vital choice because you might not have a movie industry as we know it today without him. I think that's a fair statement to make.
I mean, without The Godfather, I mean, what would grown men reference? Whenever they're trying to... They
couldn't reference anything because without The Godfather, let's be very honest.
Yeah, what would they reference?
You couldn't reference Sopranos. You certainly couldn't reference... There's no way the Pacino version of Scarface would have ever gotten made.
Whenever anyone wants to kind of convey a life lesson, they quote something from The Godfather that evokes a sense of wisdom. But without that,
do you feel like? Let me ask you this: do you feel like his latter day career troubles would have any kind of negative effect on him actually winning this award?
I think the tide of perception. I think even after that period, people were rooting for him, and I think an honorary Oscar would be such a great full circle moment for him. He's personally never won an Oscar before.
Oh, okay. And it's not like he made anti-Semitic remarks and went on a tirade. And
of course.
On audio. Let's be very honest.
He had personal problems.
Yeah. I mean, if you use that, in all seriousness, all kidding aside, if you use that as a thing, we would have to eliminate, I think, most of the people. And I don't mean that in a flippant way. I actually mean it just because everyone does, and especially in this business, as I've gotten older, and I think all three of us can relate to this. We all have gone through our share of troubles. And we do want someone like Evans, who has been in a lot of personal problems. We do want to see him triumph in the end. We do want to see that because he's done so much for us. Let's be very honest.
I just want to see him go up to the podium and pull out a picture of Ally McGraw and say, "Any man that thinks they can read the mind of a woman knows nothing."
You got to admit that seeing Robert Evans, even though he won't be up on stage, during the show, but just seeing Robert Evans as part of the whole shebang there was great.
Yeah. And Nicholson will be there rooting him on. They're really close. But he takes that picture of Ally McGraw with him everywhere he goes. So he always has it handy for that little anecdote. It's like, while I was busy editing The Godfather, she was sucking McQueen's, All right, Dean, what's one of your choices?
Well, I can't trump Robert Evans as a choice for.
You want to give it to Trump? What?
No, I can't. I can't do better than Robert Evans for the Thalberg. So I'll forget. I have a few Thalberg things like the Weinsteins or Scott Rudin.
Yeah.
Or maybe even Tarantino's producer, Lawrence Bender, or even Ted Hope, who does Good Machine.
Ted Hope is a great choice.
Ted Hope would be my number one choice for the Thalberg Award. But now that you mentioned Robert Evans, I can't get any better than that. So I'll just start with my top 10 list for the rest of the honorary awards. And for number 10, my number one technical choice, that is a person who's not an actor or a director or a writer or a producer, would be Owen Roizman, the cinematographer of such amazing movies as The French Connection, The Exorcist, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, just so many great movies. Like, let's see, I've got the list here: Heartbreak Kid, 3 Days of the Condor, Stepford Wives, Network, Straight Time, True Confessions, Electric Horseman, Absence of Malice, Taps, Tootsie, Havana, The Addams Family, Grand Canyon, and Wyatt Earp. He's been nominated for the Oscar 5 times and has never won. And he's about, I guess he's approaching like his mid-70s right now, and he's been out of the industry for a little while right now. But I think Owen Roizman is one of the most distinctive cinematographers that's out there. I mean, when you see his color scheme in all of those movies and the sort of shininess and the kind of silvery blue quality that he achieves with a lot of his movies is extraordinary. And it's just amazing to me that Owen Roizman hasn't ever won. And
and also, I mean, all of these movies that you mentioned, it goes to show how damn diverse he is too. Because I mean, they all call upon different skills. I mean, The Exorcist, in terms of a feat of photography, I mean, all of that stuff was done practically. So to photograph that convincingly was an amazing feat unto itself. The flatness of Network as a statement about its subject is another thing. The grittiness of The French Connection, and then he can transition easily into comedy, like something like Tootsie, like you said. You know, that's a great diversity. Yeah,
I mean, you know, you look at the difference between something like Tootsie and the difference between and The Heartbreak Kid. it's just like a tremendous difference. I mean, but they each bring a sort of I mean, like he has a total understanding, I think, of what his directors want from him, and he just totally delivers every time. He's just one of the greatest cinematographers. I thought about putting in there somebody like Caleb Deschanel, but I think there's still Caleb Deschanel is still in there punching through, and so there's
He's got Killer Joe. I mean, Killer Joe is
yeah.
Same with Roger Deakins. I mean, I can see Roger Deakins winning an Oscar in the future. It's even though it's a crime that he hasn't yet, but he's still got a big career ahead of him, I'm sure, of great quality films.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Good choice, and
That's an awesome
someone in the chat room applauds your choice as well.
Thank you.
And ecstasy. And ecstasy. Okay, Jerry, what you got?
Okay.
No, it's your turn. Oh, no, it's not. It is Jerry's turn. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Thank
you. I was actually thinking you want to give an Oscar to someone, honorary Oscar to someone, and I don't know if this director has gotten one or not, but I think for what he should be recognized for, Michael Apted for the Up series.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's such a great choice.
And Apted served as the governor, didn't he, for a long time? Is
it a conflict of interest, though, then?
No, he's no longer.
Okay.
No, it's not.
That's like something I would do. I would, nominate myself, but I mean...
No, I mean, it is, I mean, you can't vote for someone actually on the board, I don't think.
Right.
Like, you have to be off the executive board in order to be considered, but he is off the executive board.
I just think that series is just so monumental, and it really is a reminder. I mean, I got a couple of documentarians on here, but that series alone, we're watching real people throughout their whole lives, and forget the stuff we see on Bravo or reality television. That's all just childish, amateurish, scripted BS. This is like the real deal, though. We've watched all these people grow up.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating and scary. If I would be scared if it was me, I would have a bag over my head, But
I'm anxious to see the new one.
He has really reached out. He's gone through personal dramas with each one of those people that he focused in on, where they've, many of them have dropped out because they couldn't stand the fame, or didn't couldn't stand the even just the camera. I think it was mostly just the camera eye pointed at them, but he's just stuck right through it up until just recently the newest one just came out.
I think that's a great choice, and obviously he's had a great feature film career as well, and he's never been nominated for anything. Yeah,
I would throw in there, I think his greatest feature film. I've got a couple of feature films of his that I really love. One is an old British movie that came out in the mid-'70s called Kipper Bang. That's great. It's about kids at a boarding school, and then of course Coal Miner's Daughter.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is the greatest music biopic that's ever been made.
Yeah. Well, I'll go with a documentarian then. And I go with Albert Maysles.
Oh, that's an awesome choice.
Only been nominated once for Best Documentary Short Subject in 1974.
Okay.
I guess it would have to be
was that for one of the Christo movies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was The Count of Monte Cristo.
It was like Cristo Islands or Cristo's.
So. Yeah, it's the island where they make the cooking oil. It's great. But I mean, you think of documentarians, and you think of the one that's made the most profound mark on the form, and it's him. It's the Brothers Maysles. Really. But if you're going to give it to a documentarian,
And you have to include also Charlotte Zwirlin also in this thing too, because a lot of people forget that those movies like Showman, Salesman, Gimme Shelter, they were also co-directed by a lady named Charlotte Zwirlin, who later went on to do I think her most notable movie that she did on her own was the movie about Thelonious Monk that she did with Clint Eastwood, Straight No Chaser.
Oh, okay.
But I think if you're going to put Albert Maysles is definitely on my list. He's number 4 on my list. And I think if you were going to give one to him, you'd have to give one to Charlotte Zwirlin too, because all those movies that we love that were done by the Maysles brothers. Of course, David Maysles passed away a few years ago, but she was in there with them all. But I mean, you think about Albert Maysles. I mean, Showman, which was about another great producer, like back in the '60s. I can't remember his name right now, but Salesman and Gimme Shelter and Grey Gardens. And then the movie about the Beatles, What's Happening, and he also did a movie about Brando, and he did a movie about Capote, and
What's the movie about Brando?
He did a movie about Brando in the mid '60s, and
the little documentary short, actually.
Yeah.
And you'll see it in some of the Brando documentaries, and it's like Meet Marlon Brando, and it's
Meet Marlon
Brando. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, plus, he was also a cinematographer on movies like Monterey Pop and When They Were Kings and Primary. He's always been in there punching for other documentary filmmakers and taking just a role as a cinematographer on their movies. So he's always been there, just in there for the documentary form as a whole. And I totally agree with that choice.
Yeah, he was going to return to Marlon Brando like late in his career, but he couldn't. He didn't want to shoot a documentary in 70 millimeter.
It would be called Meet Me at Pink's.
Meet Me at Pink's. Meet Marlon Brando at Pink's. Yeah, that's great. We're going to chronicle how he ate 50 hot dogs consecutively. That's amazing. It's just amazing. That's one of the great Hollywood stories too. Brando and Pink's.
That was a great interview. The Pink's interview was awesome.
I re-listened to that a couple of months ago, and that was really, really enjoyable. And you could tell he was pleased to talk about the history of Pink's.
We should have him back on. We should have him.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Dean, what you got?
Well, I'll pick another. Since we're on the subject of documentarians, I think you cannot forget Frederick Wiseman. He'd be number 5 on my list. Yeah. Frederick Wiseman totally transformed, along with the Maysles. They were working, as contemporaries at the same time, and they totally transformed what documentaries should be. And I think it's interesting. There's never been an honorary Oscar given to a documentarian ever. Not ever. And if you're going to give the first one, you'd have to give it to either Maysles or Wiseman. I mean, Wiseman has such an amazing way, just like the Maysles do, of having his camera in a certain position where it's just at the right place at the right time. And this also comes from editing too. I mean, Wiseman shoots tons of footage in all of his movies. And let me just mention some of the movies that he's done. He's most famous for Titicut Follies, his first solo movie, done in 1967, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1968 came high school. And after that, he was contracted by PBS, sort of. It was really Boston, that WGBH or whatever it was in Boston, to do other documentaries about other major influences in our culture. So he eventually did a movie, and all of his movies, you can tell what the movies are about just by the titles. So he did one called Basic Training.
Mm-hmm.
He did one called Primate, which was about, people learning things from monkeys. He did one called Welfare. He did one called Meat, which was about the meat packing industry. He did one called Racetrack, which was about racetracks. It was about one called Central Park, one called Missile, which was about missile silos, one about called Near Death, which was about people dying, one called Zoo, one called Public Housing, one called Domestic Violence, one called State Legislature, and then recently I saw one called Boxing Gym. He's got this way of just showing you what's going on in all of these very vital situations. That is like, it just puts you right there, and they're astounding works. He's never been nominated for an Oscar before, but he's definitely somebody that should be up there.
Frederick Wiseman.
Yeah.
Jerry, double 2 years up. Give me two.
Okay. Well, now one's very controversial, and another one I'm not positive if this person hasn't gotten something in another way. But the first one is Ray Harryhausen, and I think he definitely deserves, an honorary Oscar. He really, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't. Obviously before him there's Willis O'Brien, but he's really as far as modern special effects, he's like the godfather.
Well, I should tell you, he's already gotten one.
Okay, he did. Okay, all right.
Yeah, there's another honorary Oscar I should tell you guys about. Maybe most people don't know about. But there's also the Gordon E. Sawyer Award, which does give you an Oscar plaque. It does give you an Oscar, an actual Oscar, as opposed to like the Thalberg and the Herschel. I'm not sure if the Herschel gives you an actual Oscar, but I know the Thalberg.
Okay, so that's a technical then. That's a technical lifetime.
Yeah, it's a technical special Oscar, and he's already gotten one. So
I figured. I wasn't 100% positive, but I just
That's a good choice, though. Obviously,
Yeah, but the other one, and this is where I'm going to get a lot of trouble, but I just think is Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I think that I don't like everything he's done. Some of his stuff I find is not great, but I think he's a very daring filmmaker, and I've said this many times before, but we talk about all these filmmakers who love film, and let's not forget, Spike Lee really loves movies too. Really, he loves New York, obviously, but he really loves movies, and he's also branched out to do a lot of different kind of films, and no one ever gives him that credit. He's also another one who makes very good documentaries, and I just don't think he gets credit. I think unfortunately he gets criticized more than anything else, and I actually think he's a fantastic filmmaker.
No, he's I agree with you. He's one of my favorite filmmakers, and he's been unjustly snubbed. More than once too for an Oscar, but most prominently for Do the Right Thing, which everyone in the country kind of agreed was one of the best films that year, and he was kind of ousted, But I think so too. I remember him getting an Oscar nomination for Four Little Girls, which I loved, Four Little Girls. And outside of that, he got did he get a screenplay for Do the Right Thing?
Did he get?
He did.
What about Malcolm X? Did he ever get any nomination for
No.
Okay, and I remember
the only 2 nominations that Malcolm X got was for actor and costume design.
Do you remember Vincent Canby's review of Malcolm X, where he said it was probably the finest epic movie and it was in league with Lawrence of Arabia? Remember that in his review?
Wow, really?
He did say he praised Malcolm X.
I like Malcolm X, but there's problems with it.
Oh, there are problems with it. I won't lie to you, but it's a bold film, though. It is at that time, especially. It's a very bold.
And
film.
he's a bold filmmaker, and he deserves some recognition and Academy love. He's done a lot for movies. So I like that choice, and that's not necessarily an unpopular choice. I mean, I've seen that name floated around before for honorary Oscar consideration. So I think people are on board with you.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'll give you 2 of mine. Outside of the norm, outside of kind of the principal filmmaking positions, one would have to be a posthumous Oscar, and I'd give that to Saul Bass.
Awesome.
Well, which they don't do posthumous Oscars.
They don't do posthumous honorary Oscars?
No, they've never done that ever.
I thought they
That's
had
their
before.
rule. They don't do that.
It's a rule not to give it posthumously.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
In fact, it's a rule not to give any Oscars posthumously, really, in any way. I mean, except there's been, of course, some actors that have won posthumously, but well, I don't really know exactly how they have skirted the rules. But as far as special Oscars go, honorary Oscars, there are no posthumous honorary Oscars at all.
So why did you have Maisels on your list?
Well, Maisels is still alive.
I thought you said he died just a couple of years ago.
No, David Maisels died. His brother died, but Albert Maisels is still alive, and so is Charlotte Zwerlin. But David Maisels passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. So there's no posthumous Oscars.
Okay.
But
well,
yes,
there used to be because Walt Disney won posthumously.
It should make you feel better that Saul Bass did win an Oscar in his lifetime for a short film that he
1968. That makes me feel so much better. And then the other is Drew Struzan.
Oh, I love that choice. That's a great choice. Now tell people who Drew Struzan is.
He's pretty much the most influential movie poster artist there is. I mean, you think of the Star Wars posters, the Raiders posters. I mean, it's a whole kind of art form. He elevated movie poster illustration to. And you see his influence definitely in the history of what we know of as our modern movie. So
right,
yeah.
And he's unlikely to get recognition any other way from the Academy. So
I love that choice. That is truly thinking outside the box. I love
that's
that.
An awesome choice, yeah.
That's a great
choice.
I mean, because everybody knows when everybody who sees a poster that Drew has done, and he signs them all as Drew. And when you see one of his posters, you absolutely, there's just something in your spine, in your gut. It's like, oh my God, it's one of these movies.
It's unmistakable. I mean, you can tell a Drew Struzan poster, first glance.
Yeah, it's amazing. That would be an amazing choice if they could do something like that.
And he's alive, which is always a bit of.
And he's still around and doing stuff, so that's great.
All right, give me 2 of yours.
I'll lump 2 of mine together. I love how in the past couple of years, with last year they gave an award to James Earl Jones, and then a couple of years ago they gave one to Eli Wallach. And even though those 2 guys have both done lead roles in a few films, I feel that they're mostly regarded as supporting actors. And I really love that they've opened up the field in that way. So for my two choices that I would love together, I would pick two supporting actors that I just think are absolutely unbelievable, phenomenal, have had phenomenal careers. The first one would be Ned Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, when you think of Ned Beatty's career, starting with Deliverance and then going on to Nashville and White Lightning, All the President's Men, Network, which was his only Oscar nomination, was for supporting actor for Network for those two scenes that he's in that. Silver Streak, Gator, Superman, Superman 2, Wise Blood, 1941, Back to School, The Big Easy, Hear My Song, and Rudy, Cookie's Fortune, Spring Forward, Sweetland, The Walker, Charlie Wilson's War, and The Killer Inside Me. Then recently, he's gotten sort of a new career by doing voiceovers for animated movies, including Toy Story 3 and Rango. So, I mean, this guy has had such a career. I mean, so amazing. He's never been bad in anything that you've ever seen him in.
Actually, he's the villain in Toy Story 3, isn't he? Doesn't he do the voice of the villain? That's scary in Toy Story 3. He voiced that character really effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did.
Yeah, but I mean, he's so wonderful and lovable, and even if he's a villain, even if he's somebody that you can't really personally like for instance Arthur Jensen, for instance, in Network, he's just so great. Now let me give you another one that's also great, and that's Charles Durning.
I was thinking Charles Durning. Yeah.
I met him. He's really nice.
Charles Durning. I mean, you think about he started out a lot earlier than this, but his first really big role was in The Sting. But I mean, I would give it to him in an instant just for Dog Day Afternoon, because I think his role in he's just so great. I was just watching Dog Day Afternoon again just recently, and I was like, how in the hell did Dog Day Afternoon not garner Oscar nominations for Charles Durning and John Cazale, for that matter? I mean, it was Chris Sarandon who actually got a nomination out of it, and he's great in it too. But that movie is just filled with great supporting performances. But you think of Charles Durning in The Fury, or The Enemy of the People, the Muppet movie, Starting Over, North Dallas 40, Sharky's Machine, True Confessions, Tootsie, and then on to Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which he got an Oscar nomination for, and also in the next year he got one for To Be or Not to Be. And he was in Dick Tracy and The Hudsucker Proxy, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Home for the Holidays, and Stayed in Maine. I mean, another great career.
And a few years ago he received the SAG Lifetime Achievement Award too. So I mean, there's tremendous industry respect for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, whenever I see if Charles Durning is in the movie, whether it's something that's new or something that's old, I'll just go and say, well, at least it's got Charles Durning in it. at least I know that I can rely on that. And I feel the same way about Ned Beatty too. It's just like these are just two incredibly reliable actors.
Charles Durning and Ned Beatty. I just recently saw an interview with Ned Beatty when they were doing their 40th anniversary Deliverance press tour, and he's a jovial guy. He's a jokester. Still.
Yeah. I met him a long time ago. He was in town for doing. He was doing promotion for a movie called Switching Channels. Burt Reynolds. And he was really great. It's a great interview. Maybe one of these days I'll put it up on Filmicability. But I presented him with my Deliverance poster. I had an original Deliverance poster from '72. I said, could you sign this for me, Ned? And he signed it. He said, to Dean. Watch out for them outdoor types. Know what I mean?
Oh, my God.
That's funny. And actually, your two picks have Burt Reynolds in common because they're both real close friends of Burt Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Charles Durning started out as a boxer, actually.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, before he went into films. Yeah, he was a veteran, and then he was an amateur boxer. Okay, Jerry, give me whatever you want.
Well, I was just because others are really just filmmakers that I don't think have gotten the recognition that they deserve. One of them obviously would be Terry Gilliam.
Mm-hmm.
Can we give him something?
Anything?
Can we give him something? But the other filmmaker I was thinking about was Ken Loach.
Oh, yes.
I mean, we're all very big on political films and things like that, and he's one of the best. I mean, he's very current and gets to the heart of the matter in all of his films. And he's also very good at, how should I say it, one of the best chroniclers of working class.
Yeah.
Of a working class society, and I mean something like Sweet 16, or obviously the movie that I've never seen the original movie, but Poor Cow, which is the backstory in the Limey, the footage that they're showing of Terrence Stamp, the young Terrence Stamp in the Limey, and he's just a really important. He's just someone that has been around for a long time and doesn't get his due.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he seems to get his due mostly on the festival front and not on because he's won a couple of Palme d'Ors.
Right.
I think. I mean, I know that he won for The Wind That Shakes the Barley a few.
That's a great.
Years ago.
See, that's a awesome film. I mean,
yeah.
It's a very powerful film.
Yeah, I mean, he did Riff Raff and he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Good choice. Good
Thank
choice. Okay, I'll team up two actors. One of these actors is as big as you could possibly get, and one of them is one of the great character actors that doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. And the big one is not likely to ever win an Oscar, even though you could argue that he's the biggest actor that ever lived in terms of success, and that's Harrison Ford.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that, too. He's
been nominated. Witness. Was he nominated for Working Girl, too? Supporting?
No, he wasn't. He's only been nominated once for Witness.
Only for Witness. The fact that he was overlooked for something like Mosquito Coast alone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, somebody that obviously the most successful, he and Tom Cruise, the two most successful actors of the past 30 years,
right?
And iconic. I mean, their work is so powerful and effective that their characters are iconic. And he's genuinely well liked. I think that he'd be a good, respectable choice.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
The other one is Albert Finney.
Oh, yeah.
He's on my list, so I'll let you take this one.
I just love Albert Finney. I've always loved Albert Finney. And he was nominated for Brockovich, right?
He was nominated for Brockovich. He was nominated for Tom Jones, I think. I might be wrong there. But he was definitely nominated for Midnight on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
And
the Dresser,
he was also nominated for Under the Volcano, exactly.
He's been nominated 5 times. Never won. And he's truly one of the greats. I mean, I love seeing him.
Mm-hmm,
so I mean, I'd be very happy if they gave him something, threw him a bone.
I mean,
is he in a new movie?
He does have a new movie coming out.
Oh, he's in Skyfall. He's in both The Bourne Legacy and Skyfall.
Right.
He's really cornered the market in both the great spy franchises.
Yeah.
That's true. But, I mean, if you think about, I mean, you know, let me just name some other movies he's done. You know, Two for the Road with, I mean, that was a great performance from him. Shoot the Moon. Unbelievable. That's a movie that really deserves to be talked about a lot more.
It's a great movie.
I agree.
Both of those.
Just in the same breath with Kramer versus Kramer, you should be talking about Shoot the Moon. And then, you know, of course, one of his first performances, Saturday Night and Sunday Morning, which he was kind of right there at the sort of the kitchen sink dramas of the 60s.
He almost played. Almost played Lawrence.
Yeah,
that's
almost
right.
played Lawrence too.
After Marlon Brando.
Oh yeah. And he was nominated for The Dresser as well. That was another one of the movies he was nominated for. And then, of course, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, the last Sidney Lumet movie, and even playing somebody like Daddy Warbucks in Annie.
He was good, Daddy Warbucks. He was good.
Yeah. So, I mean, at Miller's Crossing, that would be.
He was superb in that.
Oh, man, he was so great in that movie. What a great movie that is in general. But man, he really did a lot to make that movie what it was. Oh man, Albert Finney. I mean, I would not be surprised if in a couple of days he's the one that we hear about.
It'll be exciting, you know. Now that we do this show, I'm especially anxious to see who they pick, because they're actually, if you go online and you look up, they're actually favorites. Like, there are several websites that say these people should win honorary Oscars, and on each of these lists, they're generally all the same names. And I'll go through some of those at the end of the show. Because there are a couple, one in particular that's on every single list that I've seen.
Oh, that would be interesting. I'd be very interested to hear. I'm saving my very number one pick for last, but let me go to my number 9 pick right now, which would be Paul Mazursky.
What's he been doing lately, though? That's what I want to know. He's somebody that's, as a filmmaker, has kind of dropped off the map. Occasionally you see him as an actor, which is how he started off as. And in fact, he was wasn't he one of the actors in the first Kubrick movie? Wasn't he?
Fear and Desire.
In Fear and Desire. But you think about his career with Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, of course, and then Harry and Tonto, Next Stop Greenwich Village, An Unmarried Woman, which might be I think that's the only movie he actually got a directing nomination for. Moscow on the Hudson, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Enemies, a Love Story, which was huge.
That's a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah. Bloom in Love, Alice in Wonderland, and then, as a screenwriter for things like I Love You, Alice B. Toklas. I mean, he really he's right along there with Robert Altman with Capturing the 70s, I think. And that went on even into the 80s. Really, he was right there with Robert Altman, and had his own particular style with dealing with actors, and his own. And his own particular editing style. Like when I look at Paul Mazursky movies, his editing style is so unique. He's got kind of a sort of a feel of like kind of being a documentarian at the same time as being a narrative filmmaker, and he really tries to. He also shares with Robert Altman the sense of trying to get the scope of things. He's always trying to get the huge scope of humanity, and there's always a ton of actors in his movies. There's a lot of different characters in his movies, and he's able to juggle them so well. I think it's extraordinary what he's done for movies. And the big shame about Paul Mazursky is he's one of those directors and writers. He's a writer as well, who I don't think a lot of people talk about enough now. And that's why I think he'd be a great choice.
That's a good choice. Good choice, Paul Mazursky. Okay, so let's get, whether you want to double them up or not, let's get one more set of names from the three of us.
Okay.
And then we'll just rattle them off one right after another without much discussion of the rest on the list. And then I'll reveal who the favorites are among the internet sites that I've seen for who should receive it. So Jerry, double it up or do a single?
I'll just do a single. Alan Rudolph.
Yeah, Alan Rudolph.
And that's another one. He hasn't made anything. What was it? Was the last thing he made The Secret Lives of Dennis, or wasn't there something after that?
There might have been one more after that one, but I can't remember what it was.
But he was such a fascinating director. Really, a lot of really. I like The Secret Lives of Dennis a lot, but Welcome to L.A., Choose Me, Trouble in Mind, The Moderns. Just lots of really unique films, and he was.
I really loved. Did he do Mrs. Parker in the
Mrs. Parker in the Vicious Circle? That was a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just. But that's someone. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. But he was he made a lot of interesting films.
Another guy that came up with Altman.
Yeah.
That really made his mark with Altman's films, being assistant director for California Split and Long Goodbye and Buffalo Bill and Nashville, and before he got his directing career. And I think Altman was essential in. I think Altman actually produced Welcome to L.A. for him. I think
you're right.
Yeah, he did, and in fact, a couple of other movies too. I think. Remember My Name. That was his first movie, which I've never seen, but that's one of those lost movies that's still not out on DVD yet. But those first few movies, Altman was involved as a producer.
Yeah, and he said that Altman was the perfect producer because he was the very definition of hands off, and I'll deal with the studio executives and. No one could quite deal with studio executives like Robert Altman could.
I still don't know how he did it. Altman was amazing.
Good choice, buddy. Good choice.
Thank you.
What are some of yours, Jamie?
I'll double up for my last two in detail picks. I'll pick two directors, and both I love, and both have. I'm sure been nominated but never won, and they're probably not likely to win. The first one is David Lynch, who's been nominated three times for Best Director. And, when you think of the most influential kind of filmmakers from the past 30 years, Lynch is one of those singular visionaries.
Well, Lynchian, you have that thing that's Lynchian, so
yeah.
That's right there. Right there alone.
And he's not likely to ever win like a real
I don't know that he's
Oscar.
likely to make another movie. So I just don't know about him anymore. But for the mark that he's made, for the influence that he's had, and the esteem that he's earned, I think he's a good candidate. The other one would be Paul Schrader.
Yes, that's an awesome choice.
Screenwriter and director, but mostly for his writing alone. You could argue for him. But so those I'm done.
Those are both awesome choices. Schrader, I don't know how. Yeah, he deserves. The guy deserves. Wow. Yeah.
I would, as far as filmmakers, there's a couple of filmmakers that I want to throw in here too. Peter Bogdanovich. Peter Bogdanovich has given his entire life to movies. As a writer, as a as a curator, as a critic, as a commentator, as an actor, as a screenwriter, and as a director. I mean, and as a director, of course, again, another guy that completely defined the 70s with things like Last Picture Show, Paper Moon, Saint Jack, all of those great movies. What's Up, Doc? Even his failed movies, things like Daisy Miller and Nickelodeon. And we won't even talk about At Long Last Love, because that was a true bomb. But those, and even up until recently, with things like Cat's Meow and in the 80s Mask and They All Laughed. I mean, just an amazing guy. But I would give him the award not just on his directorial things, but what he's done for film in general. I mean, giving commentaries on movies from the 40s that he loves and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's another the two books that here. Who the hell made it and who the hell's in it? I mean. Yeah,
exactly. Those great books. I mean, he's fantastic. Another filmmaker that I would love to see seated would be James Ivory. And James Ivory has been doing things. He's an American filmmaker. A lot of people mistake him for being British, but he's an American filmmaker who has been working overseas in India and in Britain for many years. And you think about things like Room with a View and Howard's End and Maurice. Those movies really set, and things like even Remains of the Day too. Those movies really set the pace for art, set a sense of like what art house cinema is.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, he is like living art house cinema. I mean, and people forget, that he was working in the '60s with things like Shakespeare Walla and Bombay Talkie and things like that. But he's an amazing filmmaker.
Was that your number one?
No, my number one, and I just don't see how they can not give an award to these two people. And I would give them together, okay? How can you not give the special Oscar this year to, at the same time, Max von Sydow and Liv Ullmann?
Yeah.
I mean, those two actors have been in there punching along with Ingmar Bergman since the late 50s. And it just seems impossible to me. I just don't. If they don't give it to Max von Sydow and Liv Ullmann this year, and they need to give it to them both together, I just don't know what to say. if that doesn't happen, I'm like, okay, well, I just don't understand now.
And I can certainly see them giving it to Sydow, particularly because, I mean, he was just honored with a supporting, and he didn't pick up that. And everyone said, well, he needs to pick up that award for Extremely Loud, even though we're not crazy about the movie necessarily, just as a lifetime kind of cap,
right?
For what he's done. So I mean, he's like the prime candidate, and actually, that's a name that comes up a lot in these lists. Liv Ullmann, this is another statistic, and this will bring me to what the populace kind of predicts will be the winners this year. They've been giving the Honorary Oscars out since the beginning of the Oscars since 1927 or something. They've been giving them out, and it's kind of shameful that I think only 9 women have won one. all of those decades.
I was gonna like bring that up too. I was considering, when you said, "Well, what's your last thing?" I was considering, lumping all of the women that I thought should win into one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have a few of those, and I'll just list their names right now.
Well, I was going
to Gina Rowlands. Gina Rowlands, Maureen O'Hara, Angela Lansbury, and Catherine Deneuve.
Now, see, I was going to put Catherine Deneuve, but I thought, did she get something, or has she never gotten anything?
She's only been nominated once for Indochine, and also one more, Doris Day.
Yeah, the most popular, actually the single most popular pick of all the websites I visited has been Angela Lansbury. There's a real campaign to have her get an award. But Doris Day's on there, Peter O'Toole's on there. Jenna Rowlands is on.
Peter O'Toole already won one. He won a few years ago.
Yeah, but you can still win and get an honorary. I'm just telling you.
He won an honorary. He won the honorary Oscar.
Oh, he already won an honorary?
Yeah, when we went
in
2003
or 2004.
Okay, so that was obviously an old website I visited. But Angela Lansbury is the number one. Lalo Schifrin is also pops up.
That's an awesome choice.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Other names I had on my list in terms of producer, there's Jerry Weintraub, who's another showman producer.
Yeah.
There's Ed Harris is an actor that's never been given an Oscar. Has Michael Ballas ever been given an Oscar?
Michael Ballas has never gotten an Oscar. Neither has Michael Chapman either. So both of those cinematographers are great choices too. My most outside of the box, the two most outside of the box choices that I had in my list of top 25 would be Kyle Cooper, who I consider the modern day Saul Bass, the director of so many great credit sequences, particularly Seven and The New World, and hundreds of more titles. He's really gone overboard in redefining the credit sequence. And also, this is the weirdest choice, but why not give a special Oscar to Roger Ebert?
I was thinking that, yeah. Why not?
I mean, he was the first film critic to win the Pulitzer Prize. Why couldn't he be the first film critic to win the Oscar?
That's a good choice, because I think, he's done so much because of the Overlook Film Festival and things like that as well, that he does, and he loves film. I mean, he loves it. He's not there to tear stuff apart and to praise, but he really loves the medium, really loves it. I mean, really cares deeply about it.
Has given his whole life for it.
Yeah. You're right.
He has seriously given his whole life for it. Let me just give you the others, the last three people that are on my list that I haven't mentioned. Werner Herzog.
Obviously, I have him on mine, yeah.
John Borman.
I was going to say that, too, yeah. That's another one that...
And finally, Christopher Lee.
That is not one, but that's an awesome choice. Why not? I mean, and obviously for his... Jamie, where's the music? Where's the music?
I don't know. What was that last choice again?
Christopher Lee. Sorry. So yes, Christopher Lee should be on there. I mean, think about this. Christopher Lee's first movie was Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, where he was an extra in it, and here he is. He's still doing movies that are massive.
He played Dracula in Hamlet, didn't he?
Yeah, he played Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy. He didn't play the Wolfman, but
give him time. Give him time.
And then he played in the, you know, just as recently as the new Star Wars movie where he played like the Captain Doo-Doo or whatever.
And he's also in The Hobbit coming up. He was in Hugo.
Oh, is he going to be in The Hobbit?
Yeah, he's in The Hobbit.
Cool. Okay.
And then he was in Dark Shadows, and he'll be a voice in Frankenweenie coming up. And
cool.
He's still working. He's about 84 or 85, but he's still punching away there, and he's amazing.
Any extras on your list that we haven't mentioned yet?
There's one other out of the box, and I took this guy's screenwriting seminar, almost 20 years ago. Robert McKay.
Ooh.
And I am not a huge fan of his, but I think he's done so much. I mean, his book Story that came out, 10, 12 years ago is, everyone has that, about screenwriting. But he is like the go-to guy for screenwriting, more so than I think even Sid Field or William Froeg or any of those guys. I think that, Robert McKay is just such a... And, obviously Brian Cox immortalized him in Adaptation, very, very frighteningly so, of how accurate it was. No, I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. But I mean, he's done, as far as screenwriting's concerned, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice. I think my favorite choice in all of our discussion is Drew Struzan. I think
awesome.
that was.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's my favorite one.
Of the night, I think.
Not likely to happen whenever they announce these this week, but it should. So I'm anxious now to see what they pick, and they don't announce what day they're going to announce. So
no, it'll probably be maybe
in the
week.
coming week, though. It'll be in the coming week, I think.
Yeah,
because last year it came on August 3rd. So it'll be coming in the next few days.
Okay.
But then again, if we went through this list last year, I'm sure that we would be in consensus about Godard, but I'm sure that none of us would have chosen Oprah to win an honorary Oscar.
She won the humanitarian award.
Yes.
So if you think of it that way, you might have chosen her.
Yeah. If they gave a humanitarian award, I mean, you have a couple of people out there. You got Brad Pitt, who's building houses in New Orleans. He's worked hard to rebuild that region. You have Sean Penn that does more than anyone that you can imagine.
Yeah. And Angelina Jolie. And
for adopting those kids, yeah. Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow and Angelina Jolie.
These are all very
Mia Farrow has been a UN Goodwill ambassador for a couple of decades now, and then also George Clooney.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all. That might be Clooney. May be one just because he's been snubbed so many times.
Well, he's got his Oscar, but he doesn't have the Thalberg. He doesn't have the Herschel. So.
That's true. So I mean, he has a supporting for Syriana, but I mean, like for Michael Clayton, I guess. And I thought and before The Artist came out, everyone thought he was a lock for The Descendants, and also for Up in the Air. Remember that was?
Yeah.
I mean, he's like sort of like for the he can't seem to get the best actor.
Yeah.
So we just got to give him the Best Human Being award.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Good stuff. An interview was just conducted today. I wasn't able to do it. Aaron did it for me, but we're doing a Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me 20th anniversary show, and we got our first guest today, who is the screenwriter of the movie, and he wrote and produced a lot of the TV show as well. Robert Ingalls.
Oh, cool.
And then I think we got the cinematographer of the film as well. Ron Garcia. You know what? He's DP'd a lot of movies, but most significantly, he was the photographer of One from the Heart.
Oh.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Talk about a bold project, visual project right there.
No question. I'd be very interested to hear about the sound design of Fire Walk with Me, because the sound in that movie is incredible.
Yeah, we did those interviews. We interviewed the sound designers a couple of years ago, and we'll replay that as part of the new show.
Cool.
Okay.
But yeah, it is interesting, and Lynch is very particular about sound. He's very particular about the level that you turn the sound up to when you project the movie.
Yeah.
He tells them what level he wants it at, and the projectionists are like, "What? Are you for real? These people aren't going to be able to hear anything when they come out of this movie." That's amazing.
I love that about him. I definitely do believe. I do believe that David Lynch is, absolutely should be definitely right up there in the top 5, considering.
Yeah, I remember going to see Fire Walk with Me. And it was at a Cineplex Odeon theater. I was outside in the hallway waiting for the previous show to exit, and I could hear emanating from the theater behind closed doors in the hallway. I could hear the screams of Laura Palmer and this droning soundtrack, this and Laura Palmer screaming at the top of her lungs. And I was thinking, what the hell am I about to walk into? I mean,
boy, can Cheryl Lee scream? She can really scream really
Cheryl
well.
Lee is incredible in that movie. I mean, that is one of the rawest, most emotional performances of that decade.
It is.
It's a stunning movie, and so I'm looking forward to celebrating that in the coming weeks. And we will be back. Well, Sunday night I want to post that new Kubrick interview as soon as possible. So maybe I'll get back to you guys if we're going to come back Sunday night with the Sight and Sound list or Wednesday night. But either way.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Awesome show tonight, man. Awesome.
I enjoyed it.
Show.
Good times. We're going to, but we're also going to predict the Razzies this year. No, we're not.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, the honorary Razzies.
John Carter, of course.
John Carter's going to be there, and I guess that's my boy.
That's my boy.
Adam Sandler's getting it. Jack and Jill was on TV the other night already. I did not watch it.
And I wanted to watch it because I'm telling you, man. Just watch it for Pacino's scene.
I will watch it for Pacino. I promise you that.
Because Pacino is great in the movie.
What does it say about me that I've been thinking about Scarface a lot lately in a good way. But
did I tell you about Scarface? That I watched the Scarface Blu-ray?
Yeah, you told us exactly, and I've just been thinking about it a lot. I love the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack to that movie.
The different line readings that Pacino gave. I told this story on the last show. The different line readings that Pacino gave to say hello to my little friend.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, so odd.
Al Pacino is on my list, by the way, for a special Oscar. He's the only one that's on my list that's actually won an Oscar before. And that's not out of the ordinary because, a few years ago they gave a special Oscar to Warren Beatty, and they gave one to actually the same year they gave one to Robert Redford as well. So both of those guys had won for Best Director before, but they won special Oscars that year. And then a couple of years later they gave a special Oscar to Sidney Poitier. So it's not out of the ordinary for a person who's actually won an Oscar before to actually get a special Oscar. And in that way, I would definitely vote for Al Pacino and maybe somebody like Meryl Streep even.
Al Pacino's on my list for everything. But I was actually telling you the other night, Dean, that I think this year they need to give Pacino the Kennedy Center honor.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's got to happen. Like, if it doesn't happen this year, it's got to happen next year. I mean, there's no way they can't ignore that. It's got to happen.
He just got the medal, the art medal from Obama.
Oh, he
did.
Year. He got one of those. Okay, so there you go. I mean, he's got to get in there.